thing must be to mankind that the gracious God announces of it with so much stress. Though the souls of the disbelievers are loath to part with their physical body, they are dragged out violently by force. In the first, second and the third verses the reference is to the forces which are working preparatory to put an object into motion, i.e. to draw forth, to remove obstacles, to put into motion. Then in verse 4, competition starts, hence the need of administration referred to in verse 5. The question is whether the forces are angelic, natural or human. Considering the fact that the chain of the forces working in the universe reverts to God and one precedes the other harmoniously, there is no reason for restricting to any particular force. 19. The same is throughout these verses. AP. Verse 2. By the angels who gently cause the soul of the righteous ones to get released of their confinement of their bodies. In contrast to the disbelievers and the wicked ones, the souls of the believers and the righteous ones only await their release from the material bodies and its commitments. Hence the souls themselves pass out of their bodies willingly and the angel makes the task easy and pleasant. Verse 3. By the angels who are busy moving about briskly and executing their duties in the management or the administration of the universe. Verse 4. By the angels which race with each other in executing the will of the Lord to his satisfaction and pleasure. Verse 5. By the angels who manage the affairs of the universe in a systematic way. Verse 30. Dab. Here means further expansion 11 of its surface long after the creation of the earth and the heavenly bodies. It may refer to the last layer of the earth which produces food for men and the animals. AP. Verse 31. The ready supply of water through the underground springs and wells and the wonderful arrangement of rain from heaven and the evaporation of the water from seas. All these are the unquestionable proofs of the wisdom and might of the Creator. Verse 35. Every act and motive of every one will be laid bare to each individual to account for. This confirms the awakening state referred to in verse 79. 14 AP. Verse 37 to 39. Those who willfully persisted in transgressing the prescribed limits will have the abiding chastisement. And those who were the victims of the common weakness in the human being and who yielded to the human frailty will have to face the balancing of their evil with their goodness. 12. Verse 40. Note the key to heaven and the blissful life therein has been shown, and that is the control of the self. In refraining from low desires, abstaining from the forbidden. Verse 43. The time limit in terms of the state of existence after life or on the day of judgment is quite different from that of our calculation in the present life. God alone knows the extent or its duration. The whole matter lies in the will of the Lord. 13. You are far away from grasping its ultimate significance. AP. Verse 44. The duty of an apostle of God ends with warning those who want to avail of the message and the admonition. No apostle of God is responsible for the conduct and character of the people. It indicates that the whole system of universe is in motion and in the state of ever becoming. It is he too whom the motion terminates. There is nothing in the whole system of the universe to be termed eternal. Verily ye mankind have in the apostle an excellent exemplar who hopes in God, and the hereafter and remembers God much. 33. 21. The conduct referred to here is that the companion enacted out of his tribal pride and personal position. As a wealthy one. Mega Siemens, and Kumi's commentary. The commentators who have depended on the sources other than the al-Bayt had the view that the nominative pronoun in the two verbs in verse 1 and the subjective pronoun in verse 2 refer to the holy prophet, and subsequently the other pronoun in second person in verse 3 and in verse 6 and verse 7 and verse 8 also refer to the holy prophet. And hold this is one of the examples where God censured the holy prophet for his mistake, but according to the interpretation of the al-Bayt the reference in all these places is to somebody else who was present in the meeting in question and resented the presence of the blind man Abdullah ibn Maktoum, who interrupted the discourse between the holy prophet and the dignitaries. So the man who resented is the one referred to directly, and also the other dignitaries indirectly, showing that what is wanted is the sincerity of the faith, irrespective of any worldly position or status. Otherwise, the holy prophet attending to the dignitaries with the intention of bringing them to the right path, as new converts, and not attending to an old believer is not a wrong procedure to be blamed for. God orders Moses to go to Pharaoh. 14. Knowing that Pharaoh would not submit to Moses, and even in Other place, orders Moses and Aaron to go and talk to Pharaoh in a gentle and lenient tone. AP. Verse 2. The blind man is the reference to Abdullah ibn Maktoum. Note the address is to the second person, i.e., to the Holy Prophet, but it is meant for the companion. Verse 3. The questioning in this verse clearly indicates that the doubt about Abdullah being benefited by the talk with the Holy Prophet or not, could have been in the mind of one who had not yet embraced the faith, and which could never have occurred to an apostle of God who has been sent to preach the faith to one and all, irrespective of any worldly position of the people. The questioning clearly indicates that the addressee was someone other than the Holy Prophet. The factor which this verse wants to preach, i.e., no spiritual value should be assigned to material wealth and the prospects of guidance being effective or not, should not be measured by anyone's economic position in life or his influence in the society. Verse 4. What is wanted to acquire knowledge is the will to learn. This essential urge in any poor man may help him to grow more in spiritual excellence than the arrogant self-exalting wealthy one puffed up of his riches and position. Verse 5. It is the poor who by nature are necessity, turn to God and become godly to earn His grace and mercy, which they need very badly. The arrogant wealthy ones in their self-sufficiency always rebel against the laws of God and transgress the prescribed limits, and if they ever join the ranks of faithful, it would be only when it profits them and gives them an advantageous position in their life and society or for the promotion of their worldly interest. Faith needs humility and naturally goes with meekness and the humble. Verse 6. The divine will is opposed to any attention paid to such arrogant one who looked down at Abdullah